Okay. So welcome everyone to our community call. Today is June the 5th. And today Federico is not here. He's traveling back to 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 his home after the latest weeks where he was giving some talks and presentations. I believe if you listen to our community calls, you already know that he had a couple of very busy weeks. Um, Last week we had especially two events I would like to mention. One conference um, about esports, probably the first big conference about dispute resolution in esports. It was done at the University of Neuchâtel in Switzerland, and in partnership with Lexstack. And also there was a conference about social media moderation, which is a subject that we have been experimenting with some products. For example, we have the Suzy bot that you probably has seen operating in the Telegram group. We also had the PTIA, which is a list of content that basically a way of flagging fake news on Twitter. You could basically make a submission to the list, and if it is not challenged, then it gets added to the list of fake news, just to say, or to flag like incorrect facts. And this is something that has been growing in the problem about social media content moderation is something that everyone is very aware of, because lots of times the platforms are have an agenda or a type of way of implementing the rules that people don't agree with, and that will generate, of course, huge problems for the platforms and also for society in general. So I'll send in the group one of a presentation by Federico from a couple of years ago, and I hope that the conference, the latest talk was recorded, because there's a lot more that we learned after the original talk. Okay, so apart from these two events, maybe Marcos, would you like to say something about the consumer disputes event that you attended this Friday?
Yep. So hey to everyone. Last Friday we had this event it was like most part of the audience was related to consumer defense. It was in La Plata, Argentina, and we were presenting Kleros as an alternative resolution for consumer defense. There are different ways the consumers can solve their conflicts, and well, nowadays we're working on Kleros as being as one alternative. So the presentation was good. We were basically presenting what Kleros is and how, like, which service we can give to companies. And again, the presentation was good. When I finished the presentation, we received a lot of questions, because there were a lot of people, like mostly lawyers, and most people were between 40 and 60 years old. So, a lot of them didn't understand a lot about blockchain, smart contracts, and game theory. So they asked us a lot of questions. Facundo was there with me. They asked us a lot of questions, but it was I think it was a good experience. So besides that, let's follow with the rest of the video updates. On Monday, we uploaded the first Mendoza case, Mendoza case. It was uploaded to the Blockchain Technica. 9 jurors were selected, and remember, the idea is this is our first pilot case, let's say, and the idea is to receive good answers from, coherent answer from the jurors, good justifications, and in case this is working for the Mendoza judge, the idea is to solve in the future network conflicts and consumer conflicts. So this could be something similar to what happened a few years ago in Mexico. Very interesting. And well, the other news that we have this week is that we met the guys from Lemon yesterday, and they told us that they are going to do an official announcement next Wednesday or next Thursday. That's still to be decided. Where we are going to present to a few journalists what Kleros is and the way that we are working with Lemon. And well, after that, most probably a few articles are going to be written explaining the Lemon users and the general community what we are doing together. And well, that's going to be an important step for us.
About that, we are currently, well, basically Marcos is currently working on the best presentation that we can do for media, which is something that maybe it was not common for Kleros, because we usually everything that we do usually is directed to other Web3 businesses and not the traditional media or media that covers technology, so or even laws. So that's a new thing for us, and hope we hope that it can like reach basically a mass audience in Argentina, because even though it's a country with lots of issues with the economy, there's lots of like financial innovation happening as well. So it's lots of fintechs, lots of new products coming out. There is like a big ecosystem in here. So we hope that that with the official announcement, basically all these fintechs are potential clients might think about adopting Kleros in this exact manner. Like we don't we don't have to create anything new for them to adopt Kleros the way Lemon adopted. And it's nice that we even though we had we have Lemon as our partners in this in this program, and they really helped us. They are also very open to not be the exclusive partners with this type of integrations. It's good for them to be the first, but they want this to become more standardized, because it's well, it's better for the industry, and it's also a show for the competitors that well, they're moving ahead basically. So it's
that's
very nice.
Sorry, let me add one thing there, Shin. It's very interesting what Shin was mentioning. They are open to help us to integrate other new companies, because as Shin said, they want to be the first ones, but not the only ones. So, well, related to that, yesterday I too had a very interesting. It was not a call; it was like a meeting with an important guy from Argentina. Maybe it's not very interesting or too accurate for this call, as people listening here are not from Argentina. But well, if everything goes fine, he could help us a lot. Getting new integrations in the future with other companies. Anyway, I will come with more information in the future, but I don't want to say something that is not going to happen. So better going step by step. But again, the meeting we had yesterday was very interesting. Lemon guys are open to help us integrate new companies. So I think maybe them together, or yeah, that they could help us a lot in integrating new companies.
Yes, but I think we can mention that in general the there's kind of a movement over here towards adopting new technologies and making processes more well digitalized or use innovation whenever it's possible. So I believe that this is part of that trend. And it's nice that we now have a case where we can. It's not like not something that that only exists in paper. There's Lemon actually using it, so it's we're pretty well positioned right now.
Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah.
So next week we have the Lemon announcement. We will have a blog post up about the type of integration that we have with Lemon, so it's easier for possible integrators to adopt that. Do you have more updates, Marcos?
No, just that. To receive the last thing, basically the Argentinian government doesn't want to receive all the consumer conflicts, so they are looking for alternatives, and Kleros could be one alternative. That's basically a good conclusion of my last point.
As we said in in the other call, it's basically an L2 for the justice system.
An L2, yeah. We should mention this to the Argentinian community. So now you're going to have an L2. No one is going to understand nothing.
Yes. Okay, so we had this week as well. We achieved the mark of 400,000 tags, actually entries in the ATQ registry. The ATQ registry is basically a registry of scripts that read the blockchain and tag addresses. So this is very important because the most complete registry that we have, with the most information about the most addresses, it makes more useful for potential integrators. So there will be a post up about that very soon. And talking about posts, last week we published an article by William. I'm not sure if any of you had the opportunity to review it. Maybe William, would you like to make a quick recap of what the article is about? And explain in very simple terms.
Sure, of course. Yeah, so I'm happy to take questions people have. I'll try to have as broad an overview as possible. So basically, the idea is about different approaches one can take, different mechanisms that are compatible with Kleros 2.0 to deal with types of cases or courts where like the outcomes have a certain predictability to them, in that like types of outcomes win much more frequently than others. So, for example, imagine you're on a curated list, and the reject wins 80% of the time or 90% of the time, and accept only wins 10% of the time. So, if you're in a scenario like that, and sort of some degree unbalances like that are normal, maybe just the way the dynamics of the list work, many outcomes get accepted or many outcomes get rejected. Like you could imagine someone trying to exploit the system by setting up a bot that just always votes reject every time they're selected. And we spent a lot of time over the years thinking about ways to disincentivize that. It should not be profitable to vote without spending time and effort to really think about the content of an individual case. And our traditional solution to this in V1 has been to raise the deposit in the court. So that way, maybe you have an 80% chance of being right just by voting always reject. But if the deposit is high enough, the edge you get and your sort of expected payoff by putting in just that like little bit of additional effort to read the case, think about the evidence, maybe like instead of just being right 80% of the time by just always voting reject, you're right 95% of the time. So that like extra edge, makes a big difference in your sort of average payoff to be worth it for you to put in the effort. And that solution works like okay, except for the fact that if you have like sort of really extreme cases where one solution wins like very frequently, the deposits can become quite large if you're following this sort of like raise the deposit to discourage these sort of always vote the same strategies, and that can have like sort of not amazing UX for users. Even if they have expected positive returns. Like if you're an honest user, you'll probably, on average, over the long run, sort of be compensated for your time and effort. If like you're losing very large amounts of money infrequently, you might get unlucky and get a couple of really hard cases, and that if you're like risk averse, that can be not great. So we thought about ways to address this in version 2 that draw from a variety of tools, notably the academic literature of peer prediction. Where an idea there is that not only do you submit a vote for how you think the case should be, the answer to a question, but you also might submit a prediction for how you think other people will vote. And then the idea that we've described in the article, which deviates a little bit from how peer prediction typically works, is that you could use those sort of peer predictions, the percentage chance I think other people will vote for different outcomes, to gauge like how hard the question was, how whether it should have been should be viewed by the system as an edge case, or whether it should be like a slam dunk. Oh, this question is obvious, and that way you can get like a little more granular information for the system to penalize people that are wrong on sort of like the obvious questions and are more lenient on the sort of edge case questions. So that's one of several different things that we discuss, like approaches to handle this question in the article. And I imagine that in version 2.0, we'll mix some collection of these different ideas together so that we can have, better UX while still having sort of resistance in these kinds of strategies.
Nice. Yeah, I'm still at the last half of the article, so thanks for the for the recap. And where else are you investigating?
So I've been thinking a lot about soulbound token weighting recently. So I wrote another blog article about it a few months ago, but continuing on thinking about these ideas. So there, the idea is that at least our idea so far is that you might, in the process of juror selection, when you're picking the jurors for some case, weight how people are drawn by soulbound tokens that they might have. Where like the soulbound token is a sort of marker of an identity or sort of characteristic. Maybe it says that you have some kind of qualification, you have like a certificate in Web3 development from some like online school. Maybe you have a soulbound token saying you're an expert in whatever. And then the idea there is that for individual cases, maybe like we want to have people that have some specific qualification, limit the people who are drawn to people who have like a given soulbound token, or maybe more interestingly, sort of at least interestingly mathematically, if you want to have like a panel of jurors that represent different points that have like on a case that requires sort of like different kinds of expertise and different qualifications, maybe you want to intentionally draw people so that you are likely to get people with different sort of backgrounds, different soulbound tokens, different expertise, sort of in this like sort of reasoning around like the Hong page theorem, and then like, if you have diverse panels of problem solvers, they can produce better results than like people that are sort of individually like high performing but more homogenous. So we're thinking about like those approaches. Like you can weight people by the soulbound tokens they have, so that you can try to get people with different soulbound tokens, basically. And we draw a lot from the work of Glenn Weil and sort of his collaborators, who took a similar approach for quadratic funding contribution weighting. So they do a lot of work on thinking about like quadratic funding, and generally like they sort of invented the concept. There they also, like, I think the sort of original paper that introduced the phrase spellbound token, like that was one of the main like applications, weighting of quadratic funding contributions. Sort of building on the sort of stuff that's already in the blog article that we published a couple of weeks ago, like one open question that Glenn Weil poses for the quadratic funding case that I'm trying to develop for Kleros is, like, can you sort of like use interesting clustering algorithms to group people into sort of like groups of people with similar expertise and similar backgrounds based on their spellbound tokens? So if you think about like what we have in the blog article I already wrote, or what you sort of have in Glenn Weil's papers, and sort of they implicitly group people. So we have some collection of users that have spellbound tokens, and they you basically sort of like try to draw people from different groups, and the groups are defined by what spellbound tokens people have. And the sort of grouping is simplistic. People either have, it's either like everybody that has one spellbound tokens in the same group, or something sort of simple like that. And then Glenn Weil like asks, what if we used like a modern clustering algorithm? If you like cluster people based on the sort of like spectral clustering algorithms people use in sort of AI and machine learning, and what would that give them? And I'm trying to think about, so like that's an open question for him and his group. And I'm trying to think about like what that would mean for Kleros, and if you applied sort of those ideas into a Kleros spellbound token based juror selection process, what kinds of security guarantees would you have? That would give you sort of a more nuanced view of what people have, like, what spellbound tokens people have to like better sort of achieve these goals of getting diverse perspectives. But if you're using like a complex clustering algorithm, is it attackable? Like, can you design it in a way that's like attack resistant? So I'm going to be giving a talk about these ideas at ECC in a few weeks in Brussels. And you'll all be able to sort of see the sort of state of the art of my thoughts on this research done.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I have one question, because this week I don't remember if it was this week or end of last week. Someone was talking about like the basically the economic security of Kleros, and do you think that using SPTs, can it be possible to have like I don't know how to calculate this, but maybe is it possible to increase the economic security of Kleros with the SPTs, or in the end we should always consider the general court? Have you talked about this?
Yeah, so this is a theme in the blog article that I wrote like a few months ago about sort of spellbound tokens and how we think about them in Kleros research, and that we don't want to like decrease the sort of security against 51% attacks by using these kinds of mechanisms. And originally, when I started thinking about like these kinds of identity mechanisms, even going back before SPTs to the sort of like screening people by whether they're on proof of humanity before you draw them, and having sort of like courts that are civil resistant, where you like each juror can only get one vote, or each at least proof of humanity profile can only get one vote. Then like drawing people based on how much PNK they have, but limiting them to one vote per case based on their proof of humanity profile. Like originally, when I thought about those ideas, I thought that like there would be some trade-off between the sort of security guarantees we have now that are very clean, that are like, okay, you can't take over to the court if 51% attack the court unless you have 51% of the PNK, or at least that over half of the PNK is like staked at a given time, like maybe like this sort of alternative mechanism of using the proof of humanity screen, like a priori, as one might think, you might dilute this sort of clean security guarantee, and now you have this like other security guarantee that like like you're only vulnerable if you can break the proof of humanity list. But what we've actually realized in the course of our research is the two sort of layers of security complement each other pretty well. You don't dilute the security guarantees against 51% attacks that much, just in terms of the pure amount of PNK you would need to take over the court, by imposing a screen like that. What it turns out to happen is that if like an attacker can break proof of humanity say, and produce a bunch of fake profiles. Maybe they like get sort of recruit people in the street and have like hundreds of public profiles or something. But like everybody else using proof of humanity is participating honestly only has one profile. Then the attacker's only advantage that they can have is that you wind up drawing the attacker in sort of probability language with replacement, where everybody else is drawn without replacement. Which, depending on the sort of distribution that the other people in the port have, doesn't give the attacker that big of an advantage. Like, it gives the attacker a little bit of an advantage compared to if there wasn't this proof of humanity screen, but it's like not a huge advantage. So what you wind up happening is that these two like sort of security mechanisms, the PNK staking, 51% attack resistance in terms of tokens, and like these identity mechanisms complement each other. So that in order to break the card, you have to break both. And like we continuing to think in these terms for SPTs, that sort of adding like SPT mechanisms should not significantly degrade the economic security sort of in the terms we already have it in terms of PNK staking, token weighting. It should add to the security guarantees so that you have like an extra thing you would have to go through in order to hijack the court.
Very interesting. We're really curious to see what will happen when we start adopting these mechanisms and see where your research goes. Ivan?
I'm curious, William. Yeah, just random thoughts. I'm not sure if you have listened, and maybe this is not for the community call, but just to throw like, and we can discuss later. Like, have you listened like Jasil Break and Anatoly's discussion on Bankless regarding economic security of Ethereum and Solana? Yeah, not sure. Did you listen to the episode?
I haven't listened to that particular episode, so feel free to send me that. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it was basically it's an interesting discussion. Like Anatoly says, economic security is a meme. Sorry, and it's funny. Okay, it's a good discussion, but I will send it over. And yeah, Gina, I'm not sure if you mentioned, but I was supposed to invite a guy that like I met in a dinner, and he used Kleros and Lemon, and I like he will do it next week. So yeah, we will have him next week.
Perfect. Yes, Marcos told me about this story. I think it's very nice that we have like a witness of the Lemon cases, of its success of the Lemon cases. So that's nice. Okay, I don't know if anyone has any other questions or comments. I know there's Jay here. I don't know who Jay is. It's not me.
Hello, I don't have questions today. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so I believe we can wrap up here, and I'll send the recording later, and we can continue through Telegram.
Sure. See you soon. I guess you already said happy birthday. I haven't, so happy birthday, Colin, there. I hope you have a great day.
Hey, happy birthday, Julian. I didn't know. Feliz